Green Warrior 291. I am here with three guests: Darkvine,
Woo!
Larca,
Hi.
and Locria. Locria.
Hello, hello.
And we are here to discuss, well, Kingdom Hearts, as if you've seen from the title. Now, this one's story-wise first. We will talk about gameplay in another time, because that on its own is probably longer than the story itself.
Gameplay is total insanity, but not as much as the story.
True, but we could probably explain away the story much more than faster than the gameplay, because gameplay we got a nitpick here and there, and oh boy, is that insane.
Oh yeah, I'm expecting at least a couple of rants from the gameplay per game, if not per world.
That is so true.
You
That
know what?
is so true.
You know what? For future video, which I will do, we will discuss which Kingdom Hearts game has the best gameplay. Obviously, that is similar, not like Rechain of Memories, because that's a little card game. We'll give it its own category, but that's besides the point. Anyway, we're gonna talk about Kingdom Hearts, like the entire story. I will have the Kingdom Hearts 3 opening, no sound, because copyright, and I'm not getting copyrighted as hell again. What we're gonna do is this: we're gonna do it by the order that the Kingdom Hearts games came out, not chronological, because wouldn't that be too
but I
convenient?
have my timeline already. Kidding.
Please, I don't want to be stuck talking about Union Cross for the first 30 minutes of this video.
Agreed. Agreed. That way we're gonna move on. Although Union Cross, it's not finished, so I kind of just want to give like a quick idea discussion of it, so that way we don't get
But it
too
is
stuck.
finishing this year.
Although I will say this: go to Darkvine's channel. I will post a link down below on her when we had that discussion regarding the trader. All right, let's get started. Anyway, Kingdom Hearts 1. Starting off the story with how it started off, meeting Sora. What was your reaction to literally the characters themselves? First game, talking about when you first played the first game.
I like the dynamic. I like the dynamic that our first trio had just from the addition, just from the onset. Sora was very driven, but in a very immature way. Riku, well, he worked well enough for the role that they had him in. Definitely something to see. And then there was Kairi, who while a bit simple, was interesting enough, I suppose.
She was the driving force of both Sora and Riku, because without her, the story couldn't really move on forward.
Yeah, I'm saying that they worked well enough for an onset character. They're all very likable. They're all very enjoyable, and the dynamic we see with them is one that's pretty believable as far as friendships go.
Yeah.
Yeah, you got like the Riku and Sora rivalry. Like before Destiny Islands got swollen by the darkness, you can tell that they're best friends despite their rivalry.
Yeah, they're definitely best friends, but like my first impression, it's pretty much the same as Locria's, but with the one thing of when I first started playing Kingdom Hearts, I hated Riku, and now we see how that turned out.
Oh yeah.
Now he your husbando.
Yes, he is my husband.
Actually, well, yeah, I didn't really like Riku as much. Never agreed with his choices, but Sora became like because I played it when it came out in 2001. So Sora was always my idol character next to like Luke and all the other heroes. So Sora will always be like my favorite due to bias. I can say when he's wrong, like in Kingdom Hearts 3 and Dream Drop Distance, how he's a bit dumb for whatever reason.
Yeah.
But I he's still like my favorite character despite it. Although
yeah, I never really
go ahead.
I never really disliked Riku. Even by the end, I was more just annoyed with him than anything. And then they do that whole reveal in the late stage of the game that just kind of made me confused, I guess. But it was, as a singular unit, the first game seemed fairly closed.
The first game brought a lot of confusion, how Riku's body was taking over, the whole Heartless concept, well, sort of, and Ansem, which, let's be honest, Kingdom Hearts has always been convoluted when it comes down to its lore.
Amen.
Oh, heck yeah.
Yeah.
speaking of lore, let's go start off with the story how it started. Literally, the realm of darkness, I guess, because I can't tell wherever the hell Sora ends up in the beginning.
That's the dive to the heart.
Yeah,
Well,
that's the dive part.
I don't know the name, so excuse me.
That
Well,
is
it's a good thing you got
basically
us here.
Yeah, and it's basically Sora's heart that we start out in.
Well, in Sora's heart, what the story starts off with mystery. Let's put it that way. Because honestly,
Yeah.
you don't know what's going on. There's these creatures popping out, then there's that giant freaking dark side that doesn't want to
Oh
ever
my
die.
gosh, the dark side, who doesn't have a name in Kingdom Hearts 3. Poor guy got demoted.
He got demoted as hell. Because let's be honest, when you first saw him, it's like, yep, he's a real threat. But I guess they overused him so much that, well, he's just kind of a tutorial boss, honestly.
Yeah,
Really
that's another.
is.
Yeah, he's in
That's another
practically
thing.
every Kingdom Hearts game.
Yeah, that's another thing. A rather interesting bit that they did with this game that I'm not entirely sure many others did was that they made this tutorial area seem so significant, and then it's hardly ever brought up. Like, it can easily be written off as a tutorial area. But as the games go on, you find out what it is the further you go.
Yeah, and then it gets a little bit more important, and then it gets the most importance, I think, in Kingdom Hearts 3.
Mostly I could say that, I don't want to jump to Kingdom Hearts 2, but I can say Kingdom Hearts 2 has the most important of tutorial openings, just because how Roxas is such a key role to the story. Because as you said, Locria, the whole point is that you can kind of write off the beginning part of like Kingdom Hearts 1's tutorial, like it's its own weird thing. Although it is somewhat connected, but the whole Kingdom Hearts 2 has the more, yeah, this opening part, this entire tutorial is so crucial to the story. More crucial, I mean.
Mhm.
Yeah.
But all right, so obviously it's interesting that it's like, oh, this is mystery. You start off the series with mystery. You get to Destiny Islands. Who did all of the who fought Riku, like, and all the other Final Fantasy characters, like, on the island?
I did.
Because
So basically,
all of us, I think I didn't hate it Riku's fight. I just hated the way that you fall off the thing, you lose. That's
Yeah.
all I hated, because I kept falling off, and it would always piss me off. Because I'm like,
this is
God
the
damn
first
it!
time I'm actually hearing about this. I never knew about that because I never fell off. I just died.
It's because
Oh no!
it's because I keep jumping, he hits me, and I just so happen to fall off, and it's like, oh fuck! All right, but nah, the other characters, I guess you could say they got demoted from their original Final Fantasy status.
Waka and Tidus just, they basically didn't exist. Even Selphie barely existed, and in their original games, they were like so important.
Right?
There is one little detail I enjoyed about Tidus was that he's young and he has the brown hair that he canonically had when he was younger in his home game.
Fair enough. But like, Tidus was the freaking main character of his game, of Final Fantasy X.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, wait a minute, he's Final Fantasy X's main character. How is my brain figuring this out? Because I never could finish that damn game.
Never finish. He was your protagonist. He is your tutorial character and the person you spent the entire game with.
It never clicked, all right, because I got stuck. I had forgotten that that he was in Kingdom Hearts, and then I remembered him, but I forgot about Final Fantasy X until I found the cassette and a bunch of other stuff.
Cassette? Do you mean disc?
No, like the cassette, where it holds the disc.
That's
The word is case.
Case!
Yeah.
Anyway, grammar police, let's continue on.
So, when it comes to these characters' reduced roles, it's hard to
non-existent roles.
Hey, Tidus and Wako were mentioned by Selphie, who appeared in one scene, so it's reduced, not obliterated. I will
Fair
say,
enough.
I will say, however, that they never struck me as integral to the entire friend dynamic. It just kind of seemed like they were a couple of kids that also went to that island.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That is fair. I'll give it that. Because let's be honest, what roles can they play? I mean, you don't want to take away from like the main characters that are like brand new and from scratch.
That's
They're like a nice little Easter egg if you happen to know who they are.
Yeah,
yeah.
they're more. I guess they're sold like more Easter eggs than anything else. Because otherwise, they would have the. Let's be honest. If say any one of them had been more crucial to the story, any one of them, because I'm not gonna pick one of the three. They probably would have taken away Sora or Riku or even Kairi's role, like diminished it, and that could have probably changed everything.
The tight focus on Sora, Riku, and Kairi in terms of dealing with what happened to Destiny Islands, keeping the focus tightly on them in that respect is fine. But I would have thought that they would have taken away more of Donald and Goofy's roles in immediately following it. Because, how do I put this?
Yeah, especially like Waka
sounding,
and Tidus.
Yeah, how do I put this without sounding too pretentious? The loss of everything familiar to Sora in that moment is, it is the first big shock you get in that game. And
that
including
should have been traumatizing to poor Sora.
Right?
Yeah. And including any one of the other friends as party members or people who go along with them, it wouldn't make it as... I wouldn't say it wouldn't make the impact any less. It would...
It would make it less... It would give Sora less drive, I think.
Because he has to now look for Kairi and Riku, which is more driven that they're the only ones left from the island.
Well, until the island comes back, but yeah.
Although we should not ignore this one key point of the story. The only appearance and voice of Sora's mom.
Oh, yes.
Oh my
yes, the
gosh.
The fact
second line about dinner.
The fact that Sora's parents are never ever mentioned is completely not story.
Well, no, his dad is mentioned a couple times. Like in Birth by Sleep, it's mentioned at least once.
Well,
but his mom just gets 2 lines?
That's more than anything.
Wondering where she is, and then I'm assuming like the rest of that entire world, the entire place just kind of gets destroyed.
Although, funny enough, what would happen to her like throughout the years then? Obviously, everyone forgot about Sora, so she will just have an empty room filled with a kid's room. So she'd be like confused, which would be a funny thing. It's just if they're gonna add a parent character, it's funny.
Flesh them out.
At least have them make another freaking appearance in the obviously not in the past because no, but like in Kingdom Hearts 3. Where is she?
Yeah.
As it stands, they're really more of an anomaly, but their lack of focus can just be explained by the fact that we're following Sora, not them.
I mean, yeah, that is I can give you that, but it's like a question, the most biggest mystery. Where the hell is Sora's mom?
Did she not get returned to Destiny Islands?
It was a meme when we started, when we started the series all the way back then, and it's going to be a meme until this series finally dies.
Until the series gives us...
that never happened.
Kingdom Hearts is gonna...
honestly, if Square Enix hasn't let Final Fantasy die, I don't think they'll let Kingdom Hearts die.
Right?
Sora's not gonna die. If Sora dies, the franchise will die. Because Sora is the key role of the entire franchise.
I mean, he's in Shibuya right now.
We're getting ahead of ourselves. We're getting ahead of ourselves.
Okay, yeah, we are. All right, now let's go to Trevor's son. So let's move the plot towards Trevor's Town, that entire world story.
Yeah.
First of all, I think the fact that Donald and Goofy are. Imagine if you were an executive that obviously Kingdom Hearts doesn't exist yet, and you hear this concept of a kid teaming up with Donald and Goofy and going on an adventure. What would you guys think regarding that?
I'd laugh and leave.
I think it'd probably sound like a run-of-the-mill Disney game. I don't want to call them shovelware, but yeah, shovelware.
Yeah, I'd legitimately just laugh and then leave.
Well,
if I didn't already know about Kingdom Hearts.
What about you, Larca?
Well, I mean, okay, I actually looked up the story behind Kingdom Hearts being made, and two executives, one from Disney and one from Square Enix, actually met in an elevator, and the Square Enix executive pitched the idea to the Disney executive. So, literally, it's that scenario.
Something tells me it was Tetsuya Nomura.
No, it was not Tetsuya Nomura. It was somebody else. But, like, Disney was like, yeah, sure, let's do it. So,
you know,
I would have thought, who thought this would have worked? But it worked. Like, look at this. It's one of the most beloved series now.
You know, I gotta give it that, because honestly, most people would kind of see it ludicrous, but this one Say Yes built the franchise on its own. So whoever pitched it deserves a fucking medal. But not getting off topic, the story with Donald and Goofy joining in with Sora, like throughout the whole, Sora is learning about the Keyblade, and it just so happens in the next room Donald and Goofy are also getting the same information. The Heartless attack, Donald gets smashed by the fucking door.
Just kind of roll with
It's just, didn't they break the fourth wall?
Yeah, Donald broke the fourth wall. He just, like, brought the camera down to his level. Oh my gosh.
That did happen.
Good old humor.
That's like the only fourth wall breaking I've seen, at least so far. I don't know if there's others. I'd have to check.
I mean, the inch thing is kind of, but not quite.
I think I remember at least one more iteration of a fourth wall break, but I can't place it.
Oh, Axel in Kingdom Hearts 3.
He's an entire fourth wall breaking, mentioning his fans and everything. I'll give him that. When it comes out to fourth wall breaking, Deadpool's the exception, but Axel's another exception because he's too damn cool.
Okay, wait, what did Axel do? I can't remember right now.
It was the entire thing about how
his fans...
he had people, so many people rooting for him.
Oh, that's true. He has real people rooting for him.
No one axes Axel.
No puns. Anyway.
No one axes Axel. Do all the puns.
Oh, God damn it. Anyway.
Oh gosh, I started hating that line.
Nah, that line was fine, but Sora meeting Donald and Goofy, like their interaction getting together throughout the fight, what do you guys thought? Was it clean?
Convenient.
Well, convenience is convenient. Some convenience, well, it's just...
The concept of Traverse Town was interesting to me, just because of... It's a world that exists, as far as the story tells, it's a world that exists only when other worlds have ended up falling apart.
Yeah, so that's a little confusing. Then again, what part of Kingdom Hearts isn't?
I mean, maybe it's the only world that is only ever existent if the worlds start falling into darkness, as there needs to be like a refugee place.
Yeah.
So
the thing about that is, and it's another state of weirdness, is that outside of the referenced characters that show up, there are people living in Traverse Town.
That's true.
That does bring up a question. Then Traverse Town, is it a refugee world, or is it its own world that just happens to allow refugees from other worlds? I guess, because
that's a really good question.
It does leave plot holes, which I assume we should write down all of the plot holes we find so we can make a large video trying to explain each one of them.
Heck yes. Number one, Traverse Town. Just as a whole, just Traverse Town.
You know what? I'm going to actually write all of the ones I find in this conversation. But yeah, Trevor's Town has an interesting concept of that, but they don't actually like go any further with it. Other than that, it's just a world that Sora and Donald and Goofy are needed to be so they can all team up and eventually start the adventure.
And we get a bit of slapstick of Sora going around Traverse Town and only just missing Donald and Goofy.
Yep.
It's done a lot throughout the story. I don't mean to add gameplay into it, but it is somewhat essential in this case because anytime you go to like a door, at some point you get a cutscene of Donald and Goofy coming out another freaking door.
Yeah.
And in the first iteration of the Kingdom Hearts 1, the cutscenes were, as anyone listening would probably know, unskippable.
Oh, yeah. I hated those days.
I think that was probably. I mean, they did fix that for 1.5, but those.
Thank God.
But those. I mean, it wasn't as annoying, unless you were in a hurry.
That's true.
Because if you were in a hurry, say your power's about to go out, and you know it's about to go out like in a minute, and it's a long fucking cutscene. You know, if you didn't save earlier, you're basically have to redo a whole shit ton of things.
That actually happened to me once, but with 1.5.
I had to buy an entire copy because I had to buy an entirely new copy back when it was just regular 1 because the copy I had managed to acquire would freeze on a white screen after the scene involving Sora flying through a light tunnel.
Meta?
Oh boy.
That's kind of meta.
That is a little bit.
I'll give you that. But continuing on, so the fight with the boss, did you think the boss itself was, that it felt like unique to the story? Because each boss is unique, but, you know, they
Guard armor
didn't feel connected to the story for me. It just felt like a boss that I had to fight in order to progress.
I
guess in that way it was... Huh?
A boss that showed up for the sake of being a boss?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Where were you going with this?
Just that, exactly. But in more words, because I am a very wordy person, apparently.
For me, the boss felt more fun than, like, story relevant. I was just like, oh, hey, let me see if I can try and beat this boss. And try to figure out its weakness. It was just mechanic for me.
Yeah, I feel like it was more like getting used to fighting a boss with a party, because if I'm not mistaken... Again, don't mean to add gameplay-wise, but in Darkseid, like, he's legit a boss that Sora fights on his own. Literally, the entire first Kingdom Hearts, you can only fight him with only just Sora, no party members.
That's true.
Yep, and almost every iteration of Darkseid that we end up fighting is fought with just Sora.
Or Roxas, if you've played Days.
That's why I said almost. There was at the very least one iteration where he fought it with another member present that we will get to when we get there.
But yeah, I guess the boss, it's just more mechanics than story relevance. But it did brought the heroes together, which honestly, I couldn't picture anything else, because despite it being serious, the game is Disney. There's bound to be jokes, such as Sora having to smile and Donald and Goofy laughing.
The funny face.
I was not sure if that was a limitation on the hardware or if it was supposed to be bad until I played one of the more up-to-date versions and I realized it was supposed to look incredibly forced.
Okay, first of all, I was unsure. I was unsure as a kid. I think as a kid I was left confused, but then obviously as I grew up, I was left. Yeah, this is cringy. I mean, it gives me a little chuckle, but it's cringy. Unless it's the manga.
Comment on that.
Unless it's the manga. The manga actually made me laugh. But
well, you know,
it's manga. They can kind of go nuts with it.
Alright, but I do feel like we're getting a bit ahead of ourselves even discussing the boss, because we have to also discuss the plot relevance of our dear hero's house key-shaped weapon, and how...
The Keyblade itself, we completely skimmed over the Keyblade itself. Now, mostly, I assume you guys would change your Keyblades and all.
Most of the time, yeah. When I first started Kingdom Hearts, though, I was one of those players who almost never used items. Yeah, I know, cringy, but I've.
Wow.
When I first, well, I can't even comment on how I first played it because I started with 2. Got one later.
But you would change your Keyblade though, mostly, right?
Yeah, I would usually move mine after the first one.
As a kid, I would change it because I was being strategic, seeing that, oh, this one does more damage. I should do that. But then, obviously, when I got the chance to replay it later on, I'm like, nah, I love the Kingdom Key. I'm keeping with it, which, honestly, that only made it difficult for, like, the Riku boss fights, but yeah, that's its own.
The designs of the Keyblades past the Kingdom Key and a select few others always seemed weird to me.
Some of them were cool.
Some of them were kind of lackluster for me. I loved the Wonderland one quite a bit.
Yeah, that was pretty cool. One of my personal favorites is 2 Become 1.
Really Kingdom Hearts 2. Yeah, that one's pretty cool.
Oh, I was talking exclusively in the first game since we're still talking about the first game.
Oh, right, yeah. But, like, first game, my favorite was probably Oblivion.
Yeah,
I got that Keyblade, and that was the first one I actually changed to. Yeah. I think I used the Kingdom Key the entire time until then.
Yeah.
Oh, nice.
The reason why I say that some of the designs were a bit lackluster is that, like, and I can't remember because I remember I would ever so rarely find Lady Luck, but parts of them would be 3-dimensional where 2-dimensional would have worked better, if that makes any sense.
Yeah,
I get that. And then 2-dimensional where 3-dimensional would have been better.
Yep.
But the Kingdom Key, I remember playing Kingdom Hearts 1 for the first time. All I could notice was the flat silver part. The entire silver part of the Kingdom Key was just flat.
Let's not forget about the fact that the keychain itself.
Oh yeah, the keychain itself is fun fact.
It was a 2-dimensional rendering in the first one, if I remember correctly.
It still fit. It still didn't look like a very obscured in a way that it's noticeable. I guess it just felt like it's with the design. Fun fact, Darkvine, I actually was forced to use Oblivion on my last video. On the final boss fight in Kingdom Hearts 1, I was forced to use Oblivion because I could not beat Ansem with Kingdom Key.
Ansem was one of my worst nightmares when I first started playing.
Oh shoot, what the heck?
What?
So...
Okay, next... Oh wait, before anything, do you guys want to start with Alice in Wonderland or with Hercules' World? Because we're gonna just do a quick summarizing whether or not the story felt relevant to the world or not. We're not gonna get too long, but I don't know what path you guys mostly go. I mostly always start with Alice.
Yeah, I start with Alice too because I'll touch on my Herc thoughts later.
Yeah, I also start on English is not my strong suit today. Yeah, Wonderland.
All right,
I usually start with that.
All right, Wonderland. Quick summarization. The Sora, that's the first time we can kind of see the world order thing that Donald was talking about. So it wasn't like super irrelevant because Donald mentioned it when they were heading to the gummy ship, him, Goofy, and the Cricket. Jiminy Cricket. But I felt like there wasn't enough of the world to be super relevant as him.
It was box. It was a box world.
Yeah, although I think that added to the whole strange... The way Wonderland seemed to be so claustrophobic seemed to add to the way it was so strange as Wonderland is.
Yeah, that's true.
As a world, it fit. I always didn't understood the whole look for the evidence. I always would skim through that, which, well, you guys realize what happens if you don't search for the evidence.
One fight gets marginally harder and you lose out on something.
True.
Yeah.
But I never really searched for it because the world itself is convoluted, but that's going to gameplay-wise. I guess it was okay. It made sense because, Alice got captured, and that was when we learn about the whole Princess of Hearts plot beginning to move forward.
Small fun fact: if you decided to go for the most convoluted path, complete Colosseum and the next world after entering Wonderland, but before you find Alice, if I remember this correctly, instead of Alice appearing during the cutscene that would trigger with the villains, it is instead Snow White.
Wait, really?
That's amazing.
Wow.
Wait, what?
Error encoding, I guess.
Okay, wait a minute.
No, it's developers' foresight for if you do something like that. Since the cutscene with the villains always has to play at a certain point, which originally would answer where Alice went after disappearing from the cage she was caught in, it is instead played through again, but with Snow White being brought in instead of Alice.
I really just went to look right now. Yes, that is true. How the fuck did I never knew this? Locria, you're probably the most freaking amazing person that I've ever met, just for the fact that I never knew something like that. Someone who studied the damn lore missed that one stupid thing.
I mean, there was that other little thing that I told you about, but I'm not entirely sure that one's as well documented.
Okay, that is so ludicrous. You know what? Since I did bought like Kingdom Hearts 1.5 and 2.5 combined, I'm gonna try it. But it's when? Wait, it's when? It's at what point? Wait, at what point before you can unlock that?
Essentially, what I think you're supposed to do is, I know how to do this because it's online. Let me see.
We'll probably go back to that. But as a world, it is important because it's the only one that really drives the whole Princess of Hearts getting captured plot.
Because it's the only world it's one of the few worlds that contain a Princess of Heart that we visit.
That is true.
That's true.
All right, next world, we're just going to go to Tarzan so we can go in a full circle. Tarzan's world. Plot relevance, I guess you could say it's showing Sora trying to look for Riku and Kairi because, well, you know, he has to do his goal because that is his goal.
That's true. And it also shows, if I remember correctly, a little bit of conflict between Sora, Donald, and Goofy.
Not much Goofy,
kind of
but more
together
Sora and Donald than anything else, because Goofy's more like the middleman.
Yeah, Goofy's just Goofy.
Goofy's sweet, that's what he is.
He's the person who keeps the peace in that particular scenario, but you're right, it does show a bit of conflict and shows that our characters have, I don't want to say lives outside of this, but they do have separate goals.
Yeah.
I mean, the world itself, like, it can be literally replaced with another one as long as it doesn't change the concept of Sora and Donald's conflict with each other, and it showing that, they're two different goals that just so happen to kind of align because they need each other.
Mm-hmm. As for Deep Jungle's story itself, it's interesting if brief.
Yeah.
It first introduces the idea that is taken a lot more literally once you get further into the game, where Tarzan's whole seeming to know where Riku and Kairi are turns out to be some sort of metaphorical thing.
Yep.
Metaphors.
Although,
all the metaphors.
To quote the master or whoever the hell said it, I assume Masters, may your heart be your guiding key. It sort of lingers towards that.
The Master of Masters.
It does linger towards that concept, because honestly, it was Tarzan telling them that he'll find his friends in his heart, which, well, you need Sora in the Kingdom Hearts world. The hearts are connected, so you know it's sort of alluded to that.
Mm-hmm.
These worlds have been connected.
I've connected.
Okay. I'm not sure if this is a gameplay thing, story thing, or whatever, but am I the only one who had difficulty seeing Ansem in that brown cloak in that goddamn cutscene?
No, I actually was pretty good on that, but I don't know if that's just.
It might be the lighting, because honestly, they gotta make Ansem like look threatening. Because he's not.
But that was the point where he was just literally a brown cloak.
Yeah, he was a brown cloak.
Can you imagine how hunched over he had to be to reach that height, though?
True.
But then again, that was like just his heart, though, right?
Yeah, it was said to be just his heart. It was not anything else, which in
Yeah,
itself,
he got his form back after he possessed her, which I still don't know how that happened. I guess there's like some connection with Terra there.
He possessed a 14-year-old, turned his body 35.
But like, it still vaguely looked like Terranort.
sort of. It still was its own unique concept because, well, we never knew Terra, but at that point, so. Well,
True.
all right, let's try not to talk about the other games unless it feels like we gotta address it. But okay, Hercules' World.
Explain the reason why. The best way to explain why we keep coming back to these is just the fact that this is kind of like a weird ball of. This is like a weird Jenga tower. You pull out one detail and you have to pull out like 6 others before the entire thing comes tumbling down.
Yep.
Fair enough.
It's like a ball of rubber bands. Everything's connected, and at the same time, it's not.
Hercules' World, at least for Kingdom Hearts 1's purpose, let's be honest, it was just full-on tournament gameplay rather than an actual story, at least after the first visit.
Yeah, after the initial bit with Cloud, Cerberus, the entire world kind of becomes an afterthought, and that is shown no better than that is shown nowhere else better than where you find its keyhole, which is literally under a rock that no one bothered to move.
It was told that Hercules couldn't.
That is so true.
Hercules couldn't move the rock. He even said it himself. So
and then Sora, Donald, and Goofy could.
Does that make them stronger than Hercules? Maybe they're god tier.
I think they were just trying to go for the strength of heart thing.
Although that does bring a point on how, if realistically, how strong is Sora regarding the fact that he can take down Hercules.
He eat it and not break any bones.
Yeah, he could be yeeted off a building and be fine.
Yeah, I think if we try to scale Sora, let's just be honest, he's god tier at this point.
Yeah. Even though he keeps losing his freaking. How many times has it now? At least 2.
But alright, after obviously Hercules' World is more of a gameplay fun dynamic
it's a
tournament mode. Have fun with it, level up, because that's the only way you can level up with even if you lose. And
enjoy the 2 biggest show stealers in this entire game series.
Motherfucking, I don't want to talk about Sephiroth because I'll probably go on a tangent for 10 minutes.
Sephiroth, I started playing the Final Fantasy.
You know, this is funny. I'll just say this real quick. I hated Sephiroth at first, but then I really, really disliked Lingering Will gameplay style. And then now I hate completely Azora. I completely hate him. But that's...
Okay, no, I need to say something about Sephiroth. I started playing the Final Fantasy VII Remake, and oh my gosh, I just keep hating him more. I already hated him so much, but now I just hate him more.
He's a whiny little mama's boy with delusions of grandeur. Yes, we know that. All of it is Hojo's fault. Keep to the story.
Basically.
Ain't that a good summary of it? 'Cause that's...
I think, okay,
best summary.
Back to topic, Agrabah has to be the key changing point because it's the first, probably the only world where a character learns that there are other worlds from the Disney world.
That's a pretty good point, yeah.
Yeah, even when we dealt with a possessed a Disney character, the battle with Clayton in Deep Jungle. We killed him, by the way. He was never really concerned with anything more than what he wanted.
Yeah.
I mean, unlike, for example, Jafar, his motives completely change, which is something that was told that if one meddles with another world's, order, it changes how the story goes. Which is one thing that Kingdom Hearts did that was interesting, is that the whole Agrabah thing ended in a completely different turn.
some of the same basic beats were still followed. The genie got his freedom, but the wishes were used for completely different purposes.
Not only that, but it wasn't like how Aladdin had Jasmine with him, and he could have just been like the Sultan, or not the Sultan. He could have been like the king or something. My brain's not gonna go into detail because Kingdom Hearts already convoluted, but the wish was like he chose his friendship over what he wanted. But in this case, it was the same thing too. Like he could have just had Genie bring Jasmine, but yet he chose Genie's freedom. In the sense, it doesn't change the core message, but it changes the events of how that core message was received. If you get what I'm saying.
For example, I'm pretty sure in the original plot there was no gigantic pot centipede rampaging through the streets of Agrabah.
That is so true.
Jafar. Oh now here's where we get to the good part, because aside from Clayton being his normal self, because dead. Jafar's another one of those Disney villains that I think was handled pretty well next to Hades. Then again, Hades is more of a fun, jokative villain. Well, whenever he's not mad.
Hades as a character is never concerned with anything beyond the scope of his own world.
That is true, because think about it. Hades was told by like Maleficent that kind of he's there, but he doesn't really care. He just wants to have fun. Because what can he do? He can't die. He's just going to go back to his underworld.
He has a goal set in place in his own world, which Jafar also had. But Jafar also had the secondary goal of searching for the keyhole, which I think we should explain as a concept because we've mentioned it.
The keyhole is basically the pathway to the heart of the world. If the Heartless get in, the world's fucked. That's the whole thing. If Sora
unlocks when they're just trying to lock them all. It works now.
Yes. I'm in the middle of something.
Yeah, basically, Kingdom Hearts 1, Sora is making sure all the worlds get their keyholes locked so the world is safe. But Agrabah's like I said, Aladdin is probably the only real character in the Kingdom Hearts 1 part that learns about the other worlds, but that's due to Sora saying it.
Because Sora's a fool.
Not quite.
Well, other factors too, but definitely in the manga, Donald is pissed more about it than in the game.
It's because the manga goes into more detail of that kind of thing. In the game itself, it's more of it's just kind of alluded to.
Yeah,
but we can say that Aladdin learned the truth, and his reaction, I mean, was just okay. I mean, he knows he can't do anything about it now.
Yep. And then Genie goes with the party, kind of. But that's a gameplay thing, and I don't really know what to say about that.
I mean, gameplay-wise, it's cool having Genie by your side. I mean, he can be helpful if it really calls for him, but as far as story-wise, he doesn't really serve anything else.
That's true.
It's a nice moment, I suppose. But next world.
Monstro, just because we gotta cover the whole Pinocchio thing. But before anything,
oh my gosh,
how the hell is a whale even a world? That never ever make any sense.
It's implied through the inclusion of, in later games, that Monstro is not necessarily a world into himself. It's that Prankster's paradise ended up destroyed, and he was somehow let loose from the ocean and is apparently massive enough to not disappear.
Yeah, that brings a lot of questions. But that's
Monster's like a Traverse Town?
Not quite.
I mean, he's
a mystery inside an enigma.
Sure.
Let's just say that's another question that we might have to dissect.
Because
that's a whole nother video.
Yep. But the big thing about Monstro not necessarily being a purple world is that it, as a world, has no keyhole.
Which is unique because it's probably one of the few worlds you don't necessarily are looking for a keyhole, because it actually goes back to the Sora looking for Riku and Kairi points. with getting Sora and Riku to team up at some point with the crew, so that the first time to have four, like, Sora with 3 other party members fighting a Heartless.
Not the first time, considering Aladdin joins you.
No. Like, keep this in mind. In Kingdom Hearts, like, prior to Kingdom Hearts 3, you have to switch out another party member to have the other person join in while the other one, I guess, sits out.
I see. Yeah, that concept would be refined at least twice more, I think.
Yeah, but it is one of the most unique worlds regarding no keyhole. It keeps up with the story, so it's not just there for Pinocchio's sake. Although they do give a different story to Pinocchio. It's been a while since I watched the Pinocchio movie, so there's not a lot you can do with Pinocchio, and because isn't it when him and his father get trapped by the whale, like, near the end of the movie?
Yeah, I guess it's shown a bit that that's what happened to them, and that's what happened to them, and they were at that portion of the story, which is why they were even in Monstro in the first place, which is a whole other can of worms, considering this entire context. But
yeah,
I mean, I don't blame it for not, like, including them, but it's because, well, in their movie they didn't really do much in Monstro, like, time length. They weren't there for, like, a large portion of the movie or medium. They were there for, like, a small portion.
Okay, how about we go into the plot ramifications in Monstro now?
All right.
The whole puppet heart.
It definitely brings back
the heart.
Puppet with the heart. Doesn't that kind of foreshadow future events?
Oh, yeah, that does. It really does.
Mm-hmm.
My girl.
Who?
Shion.
Who?
Shion.
Larca, he's just,
I have very strong feelings about Shion, okay?
I can't wait to get the 358 over 2 days. But,
Thank you. Yeah.
But this is where we get the first signs of contention between Riku and Sora.
Yeah.
oh yeah, big contention.
Because it's wait, isn't it more when you go back to Trevor's Town? Oh shoot, we missed that point. Well, whatever. We'll get to it. It's the second one.
In Trevor's Town, but I think it's really, like,
more
explored in Monstro.
It is more explored in Monstro than anything else, but Monstro's world was relevant. If you take out that world, it might kind of affect the story. Not too grandiose, like, for example, Peter Pan's world, which definitely had a lot of plot relevance.
The boss, however, it was another one of those boss for boss's sake.
Well, it kidnapped Pinocchio. That's all. I mean, I think if I were to change it just for a quick gameplay, well, more for story perspective, you should have had, you team up with Riku, you defeat the Heartless, but then you gotta fight Riku. Be your first fight with Riku. Like, actual fight. Give it actual story relevance rather than it's a Heartless for the sake of Heartless.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Gameplay conventions. I don't know where I was going with that. Anyway, it seems that we were going to talk about the relevance of the bosses, and we've skipped at least 3 worlds now.
Well, Hercules doesn't really have, aside from the Cerberus, but, you know...
Cerberus.
But the thing with him is that he ends up becoming a tournament contestant, so his boss doesn't really count as a major boss. The Clayton fight is literally him and a lizard, Heartless, which, let's be honest...
stealth sneak.
And I don't even want to discuss Alice in Wonderland's boss, because I hate him.
Trickmaster.
Regarding Heartless bosses, he's definitely not favorite. He's more on
it's technically story relevant in that it attacked the Queen of Hearts.
True.
That is true. I didn't actually think about that, because the Queen lost what? Wait, what did the Queen lose?
Memory.
She didn't lose any. No, stop.
Wait.
That's
that was in another game. Yeah.
Yes. Alice was accused of trying to steal the Queen's heart when it was Trickmaster either Trickmaster that attacked her or just the Heartless in general.
Most likely the Heartless in general, because if you get all the evidence, it's the Heartless that appears, not necessarily Trickmaster. Trickmaster's appearance is because how long the world's like getting consumed by darkness and the Heartless like eventually gathering a boss. But it does serve relevance as the Heartless do play a key role, and you need to kind of light the world to find what that missing piece that you need to beat. So fair enough. That boss, as much as I hate it, it does serve story relevance.
It's still an awful boss.
Jafar's boss though was beat the fuck out of Iago. That's all you gotta do.
I never understood.
So
I truly never really understood why destroying, because in the original one, was it putting Jafar back in his lamp?
Yeah,
so.
original one, Jafar went back to his lamp. That was how the original one went, and both Kingdom Hearts story wise and the original Aladdin.
Okay.
Because in the original Aladdin, they used it as a key moment to kind of say, "Hey, Jafar, you may be all powerful, but now you're a slave," and that's how they beat him. But in Kingdom Hearts, it took obviously getting the lamp from Iago to beat him.
Definitely more active thing. It was interesting, if a bit boring, because he didn't really demonstrate much of that phenomenal cosmic power. He seemed to have lost quite a few of his old abilities during the first part of that fight, where you fight him as just as another YouTuber would put it, cowardly little flying man.
But let's be honest, if he actually demonstrated his actual power, our heroes wouldn't have won. They would have lost.
Yeah.
Because how the hell are they supposed to win against a cosmic being? Although, funny enough, if a quick gameplay thing that serves relevance to the story, in a sense, if Jafar cannot take any injury as a lamp, why the fuck does ice actually do damage to him?
I have no clue.
If you actually hit him with ice, he will take damage. It never made sense to me. That's the only plot thing I have a complaint with. Like, he's supposed to be a genie. I could get, like, if you attack him, it doesn't do shit. But why the fuck is ice the only thing that actually does shit?
Maybe it's because he's red, and red is fire.
Does
Therefore,
it?
fire must be
Oh, red. The color red. It doesn't, just because it's red.
Are we forgetting the fact that he was sitting he's been jumping in and out of pools of lava?
Good point. That's probably the reason, to be honest.
Wouldn't he be burning up, and then if you just hit him, you just cool him down?
Well, I mean, if something heats up rapidly, and then you rapidly cool it, like, say, with ice freezing it, it will become brittle and break almost instantaneously.
Fair enough. I guess science somehow explains this stupid mess, but okay.
Yeah, this is why I love science, because it explains the weirdest things.
Same. Alright, aside from bosses, monster we've already explained.
Make a video about the science of Kingdom Hearts.
That, I think that might be overkill, because that would be too much to explain the science.
I'm gonna do it.
You should. I think Halloween Town is one of the different type of stories because of this. It does not serve story relevance, let's be honest. It doesn't push the story forward in a sense, as it could be an optional world, but it does something unique, which I think I actually enjoyed of Kingdom Hearts. It did its own story, like its own original story with already established characters.
The thing is, nobody complained about it in Kingdom Hearts 1, but everybody complained about it the same exact thing in Kingdom Hearts 2.
This, actually, if we want to talk plot and story, how about the fact that that's probably one of the only worlds where the Heartless were depicted as completely benign up until a certain instance?
That actually brings up another plot. How does the Heartless get controlled with that world only? And then never again.
Well, because that world is pretty much purely darkness if we're thinking about the origin of Halloween.
True,
in fact,
but
in the movie The Nightmare Before Christmas, they're pretty dark people.
They are, but I think the fact that they were able to control the Heartless whenever like Organization 13 tries to control them. Because remember, Maleficent even mentioned this during the story that I think it was Jafar or Clayton, I don't remember who, where if you stay
It
too
was
long,
either Jafar or Haley.
Jafar, because it was in the streets of Agrabah. If you stay too close to the darkness, the Heartless will eventually turn to you.
That's
Which,
true.
because remember, they were actually being able to control them. It wasn't until some other thing happened where, like, the whole heart thing came into play, where the Heartless just wanted the heart at that point. So that's a like a probably one of the easy ones we could answer, but one of the questions we might want to address later on, like on another video.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's the only world that's originality because it's a prequel to The Nightmare Before Christmas, as it takes place 1 year before that movie's events. So it really does its own origin interesting. Granted, Oogie Boogie died, and his boss fight fits with him that he's a idiot coward. Well, his first one.
Yeah.
Although I will say this, I found it funny when the one flying heartless appears in another one, and it's like, nobody disrespects me. That actually makes me laugh every time, just because it's too fucking funny for me. Just because how the heartless don't even respect them. Although him turning into
That's
a
true.
giant freaking thing never ever made any sense.
His house.
He turned into his house. That literally didn't make any
That-
sense.
I don't think that's meant to make sense.
Yeah, it was.
It was interesting to fight.
It was interesting to fight, but it kind of overstayed its welcome because
Yeah.
if you don't have a specific thing from another world, that fight just becomes annoyingly obnoxious.
Yeah.
Agreed. All right. Atlantic is no, not yeah.
Atlantica.
Atlantica is probably one of the most convoluted worlds for the sake that you're a fish. So like it's one out of like two worlds that
He's a dolphin.
because we forgot to mention that Sora changes his outfit, Sora, Donald, and Goofy, to fit that Halloween world, and in Atlantica they changed to like sea creatures to fit the world, which is some interesting concept of its own.
Yeah, and I'm actually kind of curious about why Sora turned into a dolphin and not just a regular mermaid. But it gave me
his personality. He's a dolphin.
Design interesting.
Fair enough to both of those.
I mean, maybe it's his personality too. I mean, think about it. Donald's an
Didn't
octopus.
Larca already say that? Or
Yeah,
somebody said that.
Larca. I'm just adding what Larca said. Like, it could be more like personality wise. Think about it. Goofy's a turtle. What? Or well, yeah, a turtle, right?
But a turtle doesn't fit Goofy because a turtle is not inherently, well, goofy. But and then like
He's a
Donald.
bit slow like a turtle.
Ah.
Although
That's clever.
Kingdom Hearts has Goofy be one of the smartest characters, saying a lot of smart things. So I don't know about that.
That's so true.
That's
That's
the only
so true.
question about that. But aside from that,
But the thing is, he's smart without even knowing it.
it's probably the only world where you actually have a character aware of the keyhole. Because not on let's be honest, most of the worlds, if it's not because of Maleficent or, well, Sora, Donald, and Goofy, no one knows about the keyholes. Because King Triton knew of what Sora, Donald, and Goofy were doing. The moment the Keyblade and Keyhole were even mentioned or seen, well, you know which one's which one. Then he already put two and two, and it's like, oh, these guys are not even from this world; they're from a different world. And he knew about the Keyblade, which begs the question: do some characters that are old know about like the Keyblade War and all that stuff?
That's very possible.
A question that should be saved for another day.
Mm-hmm.
But as
Yeah, maybe even another video.
but plot relevance, I think those like Halloween Town and Atlantica don't really serve that much of a purpose, but you need to pass one of them to get to Neverland.
They were lore related. They were more lore specific worlds, I suppose.
Yeah,
Though once again, there was the concept of people in those worlds knowing about other worlds, which you said we were going to discuss later.
yeah, regarding like other characters knowing about it. So I guess Atlantica has the more lore than the other one. But now let's get to the one that really does change everything, Peter Pan. So, when you're in the pirate ship before heading to Neverland. Because that one changed the game with Riku creating anti-Sora.
That's true, and we still don't have an explanation of how he was able to do that, really, except besides, like, Ansem was possessing him halfway at that point.
Yeah, but anti-Sora is it's not really possible. You can't just create any. No other character other than Sora has like an anti-form of themselves.
That's true.
Aside, maybe Aqua, but then again, that's possessed Aqua in a sense. That's
semi-possessed, corrupted.
Because it's not like a Heartless that looks like Aqua.
Aqua?
What?
Are we forgetting about Phantom Aqua?
Good point.
Yeah, but Phantom Aqua is it's not like a Heartless Aqua like Sora's was. Although you could make the argument that it's similar, so I'll give you that. But the world shifted the story that Sora found Kairi and Riku, so his goal was somewhat complete.
Except for one part.
He needed to bring them back okay.
And Kairi was comatose.
Yeah, Kairi's heart wasn't exactly, there.
Yeah, that part was kind of scary. I was like, oh shit.
It makes a lot of interesting things because Riku was crazy to just use the Realm of Darkness to reach Hollow Bastion with Kairi, so he basically. Wait, no. Pause. He swimmed his way. Apparently, you can swim to another world. That actually never made any sense.
Yeah, I don't know.
But he found his way to another world while that pushed the narrative that, okay, so the characters that the Traverse Town characters, Leon, Yuffie, Aerith, and Sid, like all of those characters were from Hollow Bastion. So now they bring it becomes story relevant for them.
That's true.
But regarding that, I think when it comes down to Peter Pan's world, it's despite Captain Hook like serving as a story boss, it's just the world is more or less up until Riku left. It was lore relevance.
Yeah.
Because Hollow Bastion is where everything began to crumble itself together, with Sora losing the Keyblade to Riku at first. Which, by the way, what do you guys thought about that?
Well, at that point, in my initial thoughts back when I first played the game, that just made me hate him even more, hate Riku even more. But it also made me think, like, Sora, are you an idiot? You could just, like, stand up and take that. You can just stand up and take that shit back.
My thing
Excuse the language.
My thing was with that one is just like, okay, you've taken my vastly whatever club thing. Can I not still use magic? Yeah, sure. So you got my fancy sword. Now hold still as I call lightning down on your head.
So true.
You guys are all lashing out, and I'm there crying with Sora because he's lost everything. I hate y'all.
And then,
oh my God.
And then he got to side with Beast.
We're sorry, Larca.
And then he got to side with Beast, and they managed to get through all the way till the Riku fight, which honestly was Sora's best and most impressive feat, that he was gonna take the blow until Goofy finally switched sides back to where he knew was right.
It was like, thank God for Goofy at that point.
It's so true.
And then Donald switched because he's like, he cares about his friends. So it's when the story finally got the three united, because they've gone through so much at that point.
That's so true.
And then obviously we got the fun bits with Riku getting possessed by Ansem, Maleficent turning into a dragon, which
I hated that dragon so much in every single game that it appeared.
I guess since Xemnas' secret fight is relevant to the story, despite it only being like, what, 1.5 that fight's allowed? or was it in the original game? I don't remember.
No, I think it was not necessarily 1.5, but just the uh, the HD remix of 1. Because that did come out before 1.5. 1.5 just consolidated it with a whole bunch of others. Okay, I say a whole bunch. It was 2 other games.
Fair enough. All right, because we will. It is story relevance as hell because it's fucking Zemnis, which begs the question: how long was the organization like moving pieces together? Roxas.
Well, if you take a look at the actual story itself, and this is why I don't like going off when the games were released. If you look at the story itself, then you see that the organization, according to Birth by Sleep and a little bit of, I want to say Kingdom Hearts 2. I could be wrong on that. But they have some information that kind of brings together that the organization. Oh no, it's Dream Drop Distance that has the little bit of extra information. It's right when Zexion grows up a bit, so it's pretty much maybe right at the beginning of Kingdom Hearts 1, I'd say.
Yeah,
we know that that's about 10 years after Birth by Sleep.
It's the only way for like, because that would mean Roxas was found right after Sora lost his heart. I can guarantee that for sure.
And that's kind of how I understood it.
But when obviously the fact that Riku got possessed leaves a lot that it's similar to a different character from which we'll get to, how he got possessed literally by Xehanort. But in this case, Riku was still able to fight back a bit and somehow get his body back.
Yeah, maybe we should like split this whole thing up into a whole bunch of videos if we're gonna do
one Kingdom Hearts game per time.
Yeah, one Kingdom Hearts game per video, because like this has already taken a while.
I just realized that.
How long is this call been going on for?
Probably a while. I can't tell because
about an hour-ish.
Yeah, all right.
20 minutes. Hour and 20 minutes.
All right, we can probably just have just do Kingdom Hearts 1 and then move on to the next one later on the next discussion on it, because we should discuss each Kingdom Hearts as each one provided something important.
Yeah, each one really did, yeah.
Although you could argue with a few others, but let's try to get to the end by talking about the biggest and most saddest scene: Sora sacrificing his own basically life to free Kairi's heart and basically revive her. That scene was sad.
Oh my gosh, I legitimately cried.
Locria, Larca. Is she playing the scene?
I have no idea.
But no.
There.
Aside from that, that interesting bit.
But no, like that sad scene, and then right after that, Riku stopping Ansem. That right there made me immediately just stop hating Riku. I mean, right there was like, ah!
Riku is a complex character. He's not exactly evil because, well, evil, but he was
he's
just
not evil.
He just made the wrong choices. That's all he did. And once he learned the errors of his ways, he might as well like do everything he can to help. But aside,
that was the moment when he became my husbando.
Although, to be honest, as a kid, I've always liked Kairi. You could say she's like my first waifu, so I'll say that.
Oh my gosh.
But in all seriousness, Sora getting freed by Kairi, well, getting his body back because their connection with Kairi, is when that ship sailed into a possibility.
That was such a moment for that ship.
It was beautiful.
It was amazing.
It definitely puts the two, like, they really do care about each other. And then they get out. Hollow Bastion is probably the only world that it's in big crisis of becoming swallowed by the darkness that you're able to save. Because Destiny Islands was unsavable, but Hollow Bastion was somewhat still possibly saved by luck.
Hollow Bastion was teetering on the edge.
Yeah, right on the edge.
But then again, it was implied that there was... Not implied, it was shown that things would have gone a lot worse for everyone had that world fallen apart. And one of the smaller instances of storyline is the Princesses of Heart doing something.
Yeah.
Yeah, that probably won't ever happen.
Yeah, it's just like, as a unit, they're apparently able to suppress the darkness, and I always found that so unique, and I was kind of sad that they never followed up on that.
Yeah, I guess since like it was only more on the worlds are getting consumed by darkness, it gives them that ability where they need it, but it never comes back again because I guess that kind of situation is never called for again.
Yeah, and then we get the whole thing in Kingdom Hearts 3 with the new Princesses of Heart, but that's
which I feel is not necessary because that was not they never went with that, but that'll be the Kingdom Hearts 3 discussion of it. But Kingdom Hearts 1 wraps everything with a nice bow and tie. First with the Sora and Kairi whenever they're in like that cave where you get Oathkeeper. That is another sweet scene.
Oh my god.
Sora meeting like young Kairi and Kairi's grandmother, and then
that's just adorable.
And then you get literally when everything's said and done, they head to what was the final world called? Literally the end of the world.
Yeah, I think the end of all worlds.
I thought it was the end of the world. It could be the end of all worlds, so it's one
the
of
end,
the two.
Basically the end. But that world is
the end.
That world. First of all, it had the freaking Fantasia devil as the boss,
which was cool.
That as a story element, it doesn't really serve it, but as a boss gameplay element, it serves it because those who watch Fantasia get the sweet moment to face off that damn thing.
It probably traumatized a lot of people.
Oh my gosh, I hated Chernobog.
But to continue on, then the whole Ansem thing with them returning to a more destroyed Destiny Islands was pretty neat.
That was pretty cool.
And then
again, traumatizing.
And then only Donald and Goofy got knocked back, and Sora was the only one to like jumped into the hole to face off Darkseid at first before fighting Ansem by himself.
Oh, that battle was so frustrating.
Oh, I hated that battle.
It was not fun for me.
Oh my gosh, I had to look up so many tutorials.
I think I beat it within like the third try because I was able to kind of counter his dumb thing where he's just moving around in like a bunch of things. It's not until his giant monster goes in the ground and starts jumping up where I had problems, but
that was the worst part by far.
I don't think that was bad, but then after you beat Ansem, all of a sudden you're literally in the realm of darkness, if I'm not mistaken.
Kind of, sort of, yes, maybe not quite.
I guess you're super close to the realm of darkness.
I call it the same thing I call this the final boss area of 2, which is the final boss place.
Yeah.
Which is some big giant head thing. I don't even know what the hell that was, but from a story.
It was this ship with
No, the easiest way to describe it is oh God, am I really going to say it?
Yep.
Yes.
Ansem's battleship, although it looked like God, I hate to rip off this YouTuber again, but it looks like a raw fleshy penis, teeth, eyes, and thunder spells.
Oh my gosh, that's
as a boss, it felt like an actual threatening boss. As a story perspective, it's just the final boss refusing to fucking die.
Yeah.
Because we had to fight him, what, 20 times?
Let's see, there was the dark side, which could have been Ansem himself, then several phases in that thing. Not quite 20, but I think maybe 7. Anyway.
Yeah, something like 7.
And then there was the whole thing with the Guardian, and yeesh, that thing did not look fun. I don't understand how he created that thing.
Who knows?
Well, we get an explanation in Kingdom Hearts 3.
It's its own thing. But to continue on, after the fight, it's fun. It's funny enough to see that Ansem's calling for the door to open the darkness, and then when Sora calls it, a giant beam of light is what kills Ansem.
Yep.
Basically, it's like, you're blinded by the light, now die.
Oh my gosh, that reminds
Flare.
No, he's blinded by the light because that is a whole song or instrumental piece in Final 13. So why not?
But no, I think when it comes down to like him being defeated, it makes sense. Sora is still like, no, there's still light, no matter how dark, how much darkness there is. There will always be a shining light. So in a sense, it felt right how Ansem, died. At least this version of him died. But I guess the whole thing with Mickey appearing at the very fucking end of the game,
that felt like an honest to goodness just series ender, and then they were like, you thought we got Chain of Memories.
You know what? We can probably knock out Chain of Memories in this video because there's not a lot to talk about since the worlds are like.
It's already been an hour and a half almost.
Can I say something?
Yeah.
I remember when Chain of Memories was coming out. I think it was Game Informer print essentially a couple of bits of their strategy guide and just had that collection of the organization. Oh god. Chain of Memories was my first Kingdom Hearts game now that I think about it.
Oh, dang.
Really?
Although I might say something funny about that. Rechain of Memories, I honestly as a kid thought it was a combination of Kingdom Hearts 1 and 2. And when I played it, I'm like, this does not make sense. I looked carefully, I'm like, I'm an idiot. But then I thought, this actually explains what the fuck happened in Kingdom Hearts 2, because I was less so convolutedly confused. But
yeah, I mean, technically, very, very technically, you could get most of the information just from playing Kingdom Hearts 1 and 358 Days Over 2. But there's still a little bit that's left out that you need from Chain of Memories.
Everything is connected. But let's finish it off with the ending of the game. First, Sora and Riku, like, when they're closing the door.
Oh my gosh, that was one of my favorite moments.
It was a really nice moment.
It was, but I kept saying, no, Riku, no!
I kept saying, I kept screaming at the screen, just shouting, no, Riku, slip past that tiny freaking crack.
It never made sense to me until I kind of learned more, and it's like you need like 2 pure lights to kind of close the door, so Riku is one of the pure lights in a sense.
But still, he could have easily just slipped through that crack in the door and pushed it shut with Sora.
No, like you needed like Riku on the other side because you needed 2 lights.
I know.
That's the explanation.
I still screamed.
Plus, we wouldn't have gotten the buddy cop dynamic with him and King Mickey.
That's
nice.
But and then
true.
The most biggest and probably one of the most emotional scenes in that game, aside from Sora dying, is literally Sora and Kairi's like semi goodbye.
Oh yeah.
Because let's be honest,
that was a bit of a heartbreak. That was a bit.
It's like Kingdom Hearts 1 set up Sora and Kairi. There's no doubt about that.
Oh heck yeah.
Although the books will try to argue something else, which let's kick the books out because it doesn't know what it's saying.
Kick them out. You were using them.
No, not the manga. Manga and books have like 2 different the manga doesn't even go into relationships as much. Well, maybe Sora and Kairi's, but not a lot on Sora and Rico aside from just being rivals.
Yeah.
But
the novel's just weird.
The novels just do whatever the hell they want without changing it too much. But aside from that, let's end it on this note, and then next game will be Rechain of Memories, since it was the Game Boy one that came out. So Chain of Memories is the next one. But Kingdom Hearts 1 has probably the most balanced story gameplay mechanic next to Kingdom Hearts 2.
Yeah.
Because let's be real,
it's still a little bit shoddy.
Aside from the jumping ability being so horrible and the camera being a little fucky, the game itself, despite its flaws on that, the story itself is balanced. Like, the pacing itself is not too fast or too slow. Like one of you said about one of the worlds, how the Tarzan world, like how it was a bit fast. It's because like some worlds have to be fast because they're not really plot driven, story importance, but they're just there because they need to go to worlds and go into adventures. It's the ones that really matter the most, such as Agrabah, for example. Like, it was long. That one was long. But that's because that one had a lot of emphasis with another Princess of Heart, which is connected to the main story. So regarding Kingdom Hearts 1, story-wise, at the very least, it really does set things for a start. It's not confusing the person too much, because I assume the secret reports like explain about the Heartless and how Alabastion fell and a bunch of other stuff. But it really did push the series forward. It left it in one of the most amazing cliffhangers, as Sora, Donald, and Goofy are walking. Although, funny enough, where the fuck did Donald and Goofy get the other change of clothing?
They're in their classic outfit.
They went from their battle outfit to literally classic outfit when they're walking in that long-ass path. And I'm like, wait a minute, where the hell did they get this clothing? This doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, I was like, is there a changing room somewhere that I'm not seeing?
It just, it left as a big question. So, what do you guys rate the story of Kingdom Hearts 1 at the very least? From 1 to 10.
I'll let the others go first.
I'd say an 8.
8.
I'll give it a solid 7.
I'll give it an 8.5. Wait, why are you 7, Darkvine?
I feel like it was good, but it's not quite good enough for me to say too much higher than a 7, so maybe a 7.5. Kind of bring it a little closer to y'all.
Yeah. Plus, it's been a bit since I've actually gone through the games myself. And if we're considering the story on its own, I got to place it higher than if I would have done with the gameplay. Because there were certain points in the gameplay where it was just absolutely awful.
But I mostly mean like story. Like, ignore the gameplay, just the story by itself.
But yeah, no, like for me, story is definitely about a 7.5. And I guess that's just because I'm very critical of the lack of continuity between some of the worlds. Don't get me wrong, a lot of the worlds did have a lot of continuity focusing on the actual story with Sora, but there were just too many of them that didn't focus enough on that for me.
No,
Still good.
That's justified. That is completely justified. Well, if anyone want to give a final thought before we wrap things up?
The only final thought I can think of is that this kind of felt a bit like a rambling.
It was rambling since we did bring like all the other games, but I think for moving forward with the next discussion being about like I guess one game now per time, is that we probably are gonna bring the other games as a way to kind of help explain this stuff. One, because that way we can kind of keep everything connected. Although I think next time we're gonna try not to lose focus.
Yeah.
But as a start,
we all love these games so much, though. So like, it's kind of hard not to talk about all of them.
I think aside from Union Cross, because but when we record this, first of all, Union Cross has not finished. That one doesn't have fully relevance to the first game. We try to like connect each dot, and but we do like try to focus just on this one regarding moving forward and trying to explain things. But we will probably just bring the other games into it just to explain like a few little nitpicks and changes and this and that. We will try not to
Yeah,
talk
but
about
like,
the gameplay because I think we might just do like a video of its own of which Kingdom Hearts has the best gameplay mechanics and stuff. Which I assume for all of you, you guys are probably gonna put Rechain of Memories last because of its card system.
Oh no! If anything, I put the original Chain of Memories last. Rechain of Memories managed to refine the card battling system to make it more bearable.
Yeah, in the Game Boy
Very
Advance
true.
version, though, it's just bad.
Absolutely trash.
Never played that one. I don't think I ever want to play it.
I only got a chance to play a little bit of it, and it's just I did not like it.
Wait, the
It is
Game Boy or
pseudo
the
3D?
The Game Boy.
Yeah, it is pseudo 3D, and with the organization. Do you? God, how do I put this? The best way to describe them, especially honestly, the organization fights are really the best ones to describe here. Just, it's absolutely awful because we're dealing with sprite layering and the fact that Vexens could turn on a goddamn dime.
Yeah.
Lark's scene was obnoxious because that weird thunder. Because do you want to know how you dodge rolled the Game Boy Advance version?
no.
You had to tap either left or right twice, and it was a 50-50 shot on whether or not that would let you avoid shit. But Lark scenes, the lightning grappling move that she would use on you was nigh on undodgeable.
Oh boy.
Oh God.
Yeah, you got wrecked in that.
And I can only imagine what the Axel fight was like because in Rechain of Memories, I got wrecked. I got wrecked because of Donald.
I think before you tell the story, I would think that we should tell the story in the Rechain of Memories portion. Just because
Yeah, we should. I'm not going to tell the story here. So just
I think I'll clear this up so people watch this video till the end. Which thank you for watching till the very end. For the next video, we might actually have to talk about gameplay because Kingdom Hearts Rechain of Memories, the gameplay is really focused because of the card system because it's relevant. So the gameplay is actually going to need to be talked about.
yeah.
All right, I'm ending the video here. Thank you, Darkvine, for being my guest. Thank you, Larca, and thank you, Locria.